Hey, this is Scott from MasterExcelTraining.com. Today I want to talk about a great tool in Excel that I use all the time called Conditional Formatting. Conditional Formatting allows us to visually spot trends in Excel data. So whether it's you're personally looking at some data, or if you want to pass along information and you want to pinpoint the data that you should look at immediately, using conditional formatting is a great tool to use. So I'm going to show you a few applications of this tool right now. So what I have here is a G&A expense variance analysis. So I have whatever month in 2015 versus 2014. I have an increase and decrease year over year, and then the percent increase or decrease year over year. So right now, if you look at this data, quickly nothing's jumping off the page at me. I mean, if you kind of go in a little deeper, you could see, maybe 63,000, something we really want to look at. Why is this negative 33,000? So, we may have missed something, let's just say. So how do I get this to jump off the page at me visually so that whether it's me analyzing this data or if I'm going to send it to somebody, they'll know exactly what to look at first, right? So that's where the conditional formatting comes in. So if I go into my Home tab and I go on to this conditional formatting, I just kind of click it and I'll show you what's around here. So there's highlight cells with rules. You have top to bottom rules, data bars, color scales, and icon scales. So let's just look at a few of these. And once you figure out how to use a few of these, you could experiment with the rest of them. So let's just look at the dollar variance, right? I want to show anything that has a large dollar variance. I want that to be like bright red, because that's bad, right? Because that's increase in my expense. And anything with a negative, we'll show that as green. If it's a slight reduction, that's probably a good thing. Whereas this, even though it's going to show up as green, it might be missing something on this pension expense. So the way I would do that is I highlight the data I want to change. Now, this blue bar is the subtotal of the G&A expense. So I don't want to actually move that one. I want that to stay as is. All the expenses I'm going to highlight. I come into the conditional formatting, and first thing I'm going to show you is the color scales. So here we have a couple of scales that are predetermined for us. So here's red, green, and yellow. And if you look here, this first one, the largest number is green, all right? So if you say that is bad, that 63,000 is an increase in expense. So I want to show that one as red. So if I kind of come over one, then that would make that red. And I'll show you how to do this manually so you can make them any color you want. So let's just click this for now. So what this is doing is it's showing anything, the largest dollars or the largest number in the range I just selected is showing up red. The smallest number is showing up green. And then everything in between has some variation of red to green with yellow in the middle. So right in the middle is, like the yellow, but you see there's a slight variation. This is a little bit red. This is a little tiny bit more red. This is a little bit green and has like that yellow hint in there. So let's just say that yellow hint is just confusing you and you don't like it, because personally I don't like it anyway. I want to change this rule. How do I change the rule? Well, you could clear the rule and make a new rule, but if you want to modify a rule, let's just go to this conditional formatting, click the drop down and go to manage rules. So here's that rule we just created. It's green, yellow, and red color scale. So let's double click on that. So here is where we could actually change all the colors. When looking at visually like a trend, I like to see the 3-color scale because it makes things pop out. Although I feel that it kind of muddies the water a little when I have this yellow in here. So what I tend to do is I click on the yellow and I make it white. So that the yellow will turn into white. And so you'll see those little slight variations of pink and green that much better. Say you don't like this green. Let's say you want to make it dark blue. That's fine. And let's just say this red, you want to make it, a real red. So let's click on the standard red here. Now I can say okay. Say okay again. And now I'm left with a red, white, and blue scale. Whereas the largest dollars are very red. The smallest dollars are dark blue. And then everything in between is like white or some variation of red or light blue. pink or light blue. Let's clear this rule. Let's start again, right? So if I go into conditional formatting, I could clear the rule right here. You could either clear from the selected cell, which in this case would only be one cell. This would clear the rule from the whole spreadsheet. Or you can come back to manage rules, click on the rule you want to delete, and then basically hit delete rule. Once I say okay, that rule is gone. So that was the color scale. Let me highlight all the cells and I'll show you an icon set. So here, I can click on icon set, highlighting those scales. Instead of coloring each of the cells, it's going to basically put an icon in those cells. So if we want to see what's up in dollars, then the increase will be a green arrow up. Something neutral will be like a yellow arrow to the side, and something that's down or a decrease will be a red arrow down. Here you could do a triangle. Here you could do a green arrow up, and then kind of like a yellow arrow sort of up, like to the side, and sort of down, and then red would be completely down. Here you could do shapes. Here you could do plus, exclamation point, and an X. So really whatever you want. Here's a star, so it's a full star, a half star, an empty star. Here's like a quadrant box. So this is something cool to play with. So say you just want to do a simple one. So right away you could say, okay, these three are up. These are kind of like in the between, and then these red ones are down a lot. So this may be something that you'd want to, send to somebody and they could focus on the greens and the reds right away. Okay, so let me show you another way I use this. Let's just say you want to look at these changes, right? And you're only interested in anything that's changed by greater than $10,000. For whatever reason, all you really care about is something greater than $10,000. So you can come here and come to highlight cells rules. And now I just want something that's greater than. So if I click on greater than, you see here it's like greater than 307. I want to pick, say, $10,000. And now you can see only things with greater than $10,000 come to this formatting rule. Now this is a light red fill with a dark red text. You could have green fill with dark green text. You could have just a red text if you want. Or you could come to custom format. And then from here you could say, hey, show me bold text. I'll make the text, yellow, and I'll make the fill, whatever, like a rust color. So now, you could play around with this, so whatever you want to see or do. And now that's that. One other thing I want to show you on this too, which sometimes confuses people. Let me just clear those cells. Let's say you want to do highlighting, let's just say the green, white, and red highlighting on the change in dollars and the change in percents. You never want to select them both at the same time, because if you look, this is like 12%. This is like $63,000. So if you come up here and say color scale, oh, and if you look, this one has the yellow, and I wanted to show you that because I wanted to show you how to change the colors, but it also has the red, green, and white here. So let's just say, so here's the red being the top value and the green being the bottom value. But if you look here, these are all like kind of insignificant, close to zero, like 0.129, so these are all kind of coming in as basically white. These are like the middle of the road. These are almost zero. So what you need to do is you basically want to clear just these cells if this ever happens. So I'd come up here to conditional formatting, and I'm just going to clear from the selected cells. And now in just these cells with the percent, I'm going to go back and do that same color scale. So now that's a lot different. So now this is 1700%. This is almost 800%. And then these are kind of like 7%, 43%. For some reason, this is 8,000% difference. So that's kind of skewing off the percents quite a bit. But if I didn't want those, I could clear all my rules. And if you just want to pick like a few of them, you could see it's a lot different. So you got to watch out. If you have like one outlier that's 10,000% difference, it's going to totally skew your whole thing. So just one thing to be cognizant of. So I'm going to show you one last trick I use, and this is really when it's kind of like a double check. So whether somebody's preparing something for you or if you're preparing something for yourself, this is just a good double check sometimes that I use. So let's just say here, we know that 2015 should always equal 2014 and 2000 and the change, right? So I take 2015 and subtract out 14 and the change, and that's 0. Now here's like a trick that I sometimes use where I don't want people to know that I'm doing this trick, but it's there for me when I'm preparing something. I might make this, in this case, like I don't necessarily want somebody to see this formula and see this little dash or 0 or anything like that. So what I do is I make the text white, right? So that, you know, if you're looking, nothing's there. And now I'll throw a conditional formatting on by formula, right? So if I'm going to come here to new rule, and this gives me the new formatting rules. This last one here says use a formula to determine what cells to format. So now I'm going to say this is the formula that I got to put in. So I'm going to say this, and I'll say does not equal 0. So the way to say not equal to is just the less than and the greater than, and then 0. And now I'm going to format this to like the most obnoxious thing I could possibly think of. So if I come to more colors, here, let's just pick something, I don't know, super bright pink, and then I'll take the font, let's make something ridiculous like, how about bright yellow? And we could do, you know, if you want to go really crazy, you could do borders and backgrounds and all kinds of stuff, but this should serve my purpose well. So if I say okay, this is 0, so nothing is really showing up here. But let's just say you put this little formula at the bottom of like a subtotal or something that you're doing where you're manipulating data, and it could be a potential human error. Because look what happens. Let's just say this. Hey, I'm just going to F2. I'm going to make this 90.01. Like this is 1/10 of 1 point up. Even though it's still 0, you know there's some kind of a rounding issue here. Now that may not be an issue to you, but at least you know about it. Because, you know, God forbid this was, you know, off by a couple of $1,000s or something like that, and you just didn't know. So if I'd say, hey, let's put this as plus 1,000, now you see it's $10,000 off, and you have to like figure out what's going on. So that's just something I do a lot. Put these little tricks in here. So that's just something I use as a double check, you know, just to see if, you know, something, if I'm adding something or if there's formulas or something like that and I'm missing something or some numbers don't add up. That's one way to really get in there and say, oh, wow, that immediately pops out at me. So that's pretty much a few ways to use conditional formatting. And I hope you really kind of can implement this into your workflow every day, because there's a lot of really good uses for this formula, or this tool, I should say. So hopefully you have a good start to really get in here and start digging in. If you have any questions, you can throw it in the comments and let me know how you make out. I hope you enjoyed this Excel tip. If you did like this video, please hit like and please subscribe to my channel so you never miss any of my Excel tips and tricks. And please check out my complete Excel training course on udemy.com. I'm offering all of my YouTube viewers an 80% discount on the complete course. Just click the link below or use the promo code YouTube80. This course is currently 8 hours long and is broken down into 3 sections. You have the basics and beyond, then you have section 2, ultimate reconciliation and analysis, and lastly, pivot table domination. So check it out, click the link, and save 80%. Till next time, this is Scott, signing off.